Welcome to the Nobody Tells You This podcast, where we will be debunking popular health myths, fads, so that you can get fact from fiction and make informed health choices. Join us every month for new episodes. Oh, let's go for it. Welcome. This is episode 3. We're going to talk about, can you help your health? Is your health in your own hands? Because the wellness industry is becoming this multi-billion, million, gazillion pound industry. And I think it's selling us and sailing us down certain routes that may or may not be the way. And so the question to Veerpal was, tomorrow is new moon. Hands up if you've seen a lot of stuff being advertised as healing and health and, restorative around the new moon. And then Veerpal, tell us, what's the deal with new moons and ceremonies and this wellness industry?
Okay, so I'm going back to the new moon and the full moon. I'm going to go back to the roots. When I grew up with full moon, new moon, I have a direct connection with our roots and the science. New moon, full moon have a very close connection with women's health. Our cycle, our menstrual cycle works around the new moon and full moon. And I have seen it. I listened from my daddy and my mom and generations. The fertility cycle work around the new moon, full moon. Our periods work around the new moon, full moon. The ocean work, that's why the women have such a powerful energy. It controls the ocean, the tides, the science work to control the tides comes out or goes back according to the full moon and the new moon. But when it's a ritual going back years and years ago, on a new moon,
it's not just a beautiful object in the sky.
No, so it's a very, very powerful thing to connect to, such a magnetic power to it. But the reason you asked me the question, why is modern world has become billion-pound industry and it related to the well-being, but when it was already there, but that time it was called superstition or useless according to the way the rituals were done. So I go back to my grandmother. On a full moon, new moon in Punjabi, if you know Punjabi, is used to call Masya Punya, Purnamashi. So you go to the Gurdwara where you can take the bath, and there was a ritual around how you take the negative energy off and you really have a blessing for your health, for your family, and look forward for the year. And on special full moons, you celebrate in a different way, like on Guru Nanak Dev Ji birthday or near April or in different months.
We do.
Yes. And that time, a lot of things, and then you do the sort of smoke in the house to take the negative energy of the house, protect the family. That time, the Western world call it useless or superstition. It has got no connection. Our grandmothers, yes, it's a smell. It used to be called a smell, and now it's become a billion-pound industry. The incense stick.
So all different fragrances. You can get them on most corners.
Yes, and I grew up in that. On the full moon, new moon, we will be taken to Gurdwara or somewhere, or sit in the farm on the roof and do a ritual for a new moon by my grandparents. Obviously, doing the prayers and then just the incense sticks.
I didn't know that until today. I only learned that today. That what you shared about the full moon and the new moon and that being a part of Binda life, like village life. And that you would do that with your family. Like, that's just, that's so wonderful.
Yeah, and it's a very, very close connection, and it's been happening. But that's time when we move back to city, and if we have to do that, I remember the city children used to laugh at us. Oh, we did this yesterday, and from the city, the modern kids used to laugh at us. But now they become billion-pound industry. So
now the kids in the city, they're doing it too.
Yeah, and we do it. I try to go back to do my grandmother way, but I still indulge into the modern way and tend to do the new moon cycle or the full moon cycle. But my basic is still the same. I would like to, in my own space, I like to connect with the moon and do my prayer. And that's why we used to do last year. We will go to a park, sit around the lake, do the prayer, incense stick, talk, let the feelings out, it's done. And that's how it should be. But the question you asked me, is it really taking control on our health? And there was someone you said who really was struggling. She said she thought she will go to full moon, new moon, and her health will be really better. So expectations was very, very high.
Well, this is the thing. I think that now that the ceremonies are being sold or encouraged as something really life-changing and, mental health, well-being. And I was thinking about it today when I had a patient. Like, I wouldn't have the nerve to say to somebody, I think you should go and do a full moon ceremony. That will fix your mental health issues.
Yes. Means this is very effective. But anything you do for your health, either it's a spiritual way, meditation, walk, or medication way, it need to suit your own health and your lifestyle, your budget, your personal circumstances. Do not do anything which you just think is a trend or she's doing it and I will do the same. This is what is a lot of women are really, really struggling these days. And it kind of has become a fashion or a trend rather than actually a need to that individual, and which really you need to take the control back and see what is important to you. Actually, is there have a space in your life? Can it accommodate to your budget or your time or your lifestyle? And then you make a routine out of it. You can still do in your garden, you can still do on your own with your family, your friend, or your neighbor, whoever you have that connection with. I've been doing with you, or with my another friend, or my boys. I do with my boys a lot of time. Take my dog for a walk, my boys for a walk. We sit in the park, they're playing football, and I'm doing my new moon, full moon. So it don't have to be pressurized.
I'd love to hear about people's stories actually and their connection and relationship with the moon, the new moon, the full moon, prior to what we've seen in the wellness industry in the last few years. I want to know what people knew. So I shared in the Punjabi podcast that my introduction into these moon ceremonies was through a period of grief. We'd lost my brother-in-law, and I decided to start yoga for my mental health. And within that, I then learned through the instructor Deepa that there are full moon and new moon ceremonies. And Deepa is a very ethical practitioner, and I found it was immensely valuable for my mental health. I then connected that we used to do that. We used to go to the Gurdwara for new moons and full moons, Unmashi Masya. However, I feel like I've got to say something about this, V, is that it's a bit of a privilege as well.
Yeah.
We're coming from a privileged place, even as women of color, even as brown women, because the person that I saw in my NHS clinic today, she doesn't have that opportunity. It is going to be very unlikely that she can just pull herself away and go and do a full moon, new moon ritual. She had a history of psychosis. She has a history of mental health illnesses. So you tell me, how can she take her health into her hands? Can she give into some of these wellness trends?
Okay, so you know me, I'm a mental health pharmacist. I worked for community, and that's when the patients used to come in my community pharmacy, and advice I used to give very practical, simple, and I become their favorite pharmacist, or even GP say, go to V, she will be best. And that's how I became a mental health pharmacist and start working in the mental health hospital. So I am businesswoman, I got kids, I work, you are the same. I do thousands of things in a day. If I don't have that break or these practices in my life, the belt will keep going on and on and on. After a year, I will be diagnosed with a mental health. So there are signs of anxiety, the overwhelm and the palpitations, and sometimes low mood we compare. If these practices are not incorporated, for example, breathing exercise or watching a TV, even going for a walk, talking to a friend, have a cup of tea, have a bath, have a cold shower, whatever from that list we can do from the trend. If I don't do in a 2 years time anything, or even if I don't have a break, I just keep working on a conveyor belt, I will end up with a diagnosis of mental health, with anxiety or low mood or a depression, and maybe with a heart condition. When a person is diagnosed, due to the lifestyle, if, for example, I don't take a break, or someone gone through a trauma, domestic violence, divorce, financial problem, someone's death, grief, divorce, anything. Children's health is a really big issue these days, which impacting the parents' health, especially the young woman's health. When they go diagnosed, if we don't give them additional support, the aim is to bring their mental health to a basic line. What is mental health? When the brain is got so much traumatized with the repeated cycle, our levels go low, which really lift our mood, which control our anxiety, which really work on our brain. If their levels don't come up, we don't give the support to the brain, that's when anything else won't work. These practices can regulate our nervous system, but the person won't do these because they are not motivated. They don't have a support because their life is still there. The illness, the shock, the grief, the trauma is still there. That's not gone.
Working
And they
multiple
need
jobs. There's so many reasons
multiple
why
jobs.
the
Yeah,
medical intervention, what you explained about the brain and the chemicals and the change in those chemicals and needing something chemically, medically to balance them, because something really beautiful you said in our Punjabi podcast was that how can they be expected? How are they going to be able to take that action?
No.
You know,
Yeah.
I've not articulated it very well, but yeah, how is
Yeah.
somebody with a complex mental health issue expected to just turn up at an event or do something in the spiritual wellness industry and expect something is going to just magic pill, magic wand?
No, it wouldn't. And then that's when happen when a patient come, you give them medication, you explain it's no harm. That's the problem with our community. We think taking a medication is a bad label. Someone gonna say you gone mental or you got some problems. Yeah. Medication is just to support. And I always say I'm a pharmacist, I make drugs, I'm a drug dealer. 80-20 rule. 20% medication, 80% is your lifestyle. Once the 20% medication start to work to just bring you the baseline, you add these. And I always add around 8 to 10 on a patient's list. You start the medication, do a breathing exercise, clean. If the patient always stay in a bed, there is a lot of people who just stay in bed. They go anxiety, social anxiety. They don't talk to anyone. They go really complex issue. I tell them, clean your room, make your bed, have a shower, change your night suit, because they don't even change their clothes. There is so many people, they don't change their clothes. Change your clothes, clean your cupboard. They think then they done something, they're worth of something, and then they slowly incorporate other practices. It could be anything else, but you need to motivate. And that's when the additional help of medication need to start the engine, to start the little bit cycle. Because unless you make them saint and take somewhere, they don't have pressure of their life or finance or children or health, then these all practices, then they don't need medication because they have in a full, clear sort of, which we say, rehab from their body, externally and internally. But that's only possible for 2 individuals. Rest of 98%, their life is still has to be lived. All that extra body and burden cannot be cut off at all.
So I think the important distinction that I was making about privilege is someone like myself who was going through grief, going through bereavement. I can go and do the yoga. I can learn about full moons and new moons. I can join wellness circles, but I've got the time and I have got the baseline of mental health to be able to do that. There are some people that will fall underneath that baseline, and these things will be just like magical, sparkly opportunities that they may not be able to afford, mentally may not be able to even commit to. And that can be more damaging for them because it's not going to fix all their issues. And I said something in a Punjabi version of the podcast is that I was that person. I just thought, you know what, everything can be cleared, resolved, everything can be done without medication. I believe in healing and this and that. And I think actually that can be quite a damaging position, particularly now in the NHS. In the last year and a half, I've seen you would not dare say, why don't you go barefoot, walk on the grass? When that poor individual or that struggling individual, I'm not going to call them poor individual, it's their journey, but that individual at that moment, they just need me to help them remember how to take their medication to get their baseline up.
Yeah, and we are not here to promote medication. First of all, there is no way, because I go back to the basic, simple living. What we can have from our own kitchen, we do it, and then you need medication. But the point here is, do not just fall for any trend or the modern way of well-being. Like the patients who come, lot of women, the lady you discussed, she was under a lot of financial pressure at the end because she wasted so much money under of the healing coach or this person, but only she knows what was the problem with her. what was really going
Yes.
under the surface. And sometimes person really acknowledge what's going on if they get a little bit of help of medication or something to come to a baseline. And then you do the practices. I never say to my patient, okay, take a medication and that's it, you're done. I would never do that.
Yeah.
I always give them 8 to 10 list and I say, we will review in 4 weeks time. And pick 4 or 5 of them. And when I speak to them, I ask them what their lives. If they got children, I give them advice according to they can fit. If they live on their own, I give them advice according to them they live on their own. If they go work stress, I give them according to advice, because every person, they only know what's going wrong in their life and what can suit them as well. And then these practices are brilliant, and I do myself, and I tell everyone, they will enhance the medication effect, and medication will work better. Where you need 40 milligrams, you only need 10 to 20 to help that. But do not make it taboo.
And eventually they can come off the medication. There's
very
other
easy,
ways, but I
very
think it's
easy.
really making that distinction that when you need the support, you know, find the right support for you. Don't necessarily follow the fads. The wellness industry is a multi-billion-pound industry because it really does sell that dream, the ideal. And as V said earlier, like actually we're all juggling balls and we're all managing our own challenges. And you don't know what's going on behind the doors. And what people are going to market you the perfect solution, but is there such a thing?
There's no magic wand. There is no perfect solution. Everything is very good and effective, but only to each and on individual. What working for you, Ravneet, may not work for me. And I can't fault that practice because I can't say there is a fault in that practice.
I tell people
same about food and same about medication. If we can have 4 type of different medication, what working for you best, what really give you good results, but may not give me as a result, because everyone's genes are different, the lifestyle is different, you don't know what the trauma is. But you can only know what's going in your life with your body, and then that's when you take the control. Don't even let your doctor or clinician take the control. You take the control, and the best thing you can do is acknowledging it. Once you acknowledging it, what is the problem, what is actually going, and the other problem we do is we separate our head from our body. We don't acknowledge our head.
How we don't see ourselves as one.
Everything is there. The mental health is so important. They always say mental health, your body health, your physical health only depend on your mental health. If you take a control of that and you can only acknowledge it, and then you see if I am getting depressed or low mood anxiety due to my weight again, I really need to first work on upper part, and then that's include the mouth. Not
so
really
many people, we were saying this is we did discuss this, that so many people will try and find the perfect skincare product. They'll try and do the perfect routine for gym. They'll try and eat the perfect food. But unless you get yourself and your body chemically to a place where you're able to do this consistently, it's a kind of start, crash, which is worse for our mental health, because then we feel like a failure, you know. And then we see all these wellness opportunities and people doing these circles and these I don't know, like, you know, these different upside down goat yoga, I don't know. And it's just
it's important.
That's so not maybe the thing for you right now.
No, if you give me a routine, or you can do this between 7:30 and 9, there is no way I can commit to anything from 7:30 to 9. That's the time I go committed to my boys to get them ready, take to school. I do everything, take my dog for a walk or whatever I have to do before 7:30, 7 o'clock. And same goes to in the evening. I can't commit to anything unless it's 8 o'clock, unless I have pre-planned event or booking. But if I leave my kids and then I say, I need to do yoga today, I'm going to do this, I'm not going to enjoy it, because my brain is, but you can maybe do it. If your children are grown or a teenager, that person can easily commit to it because they can commit whatever the time. So everyone have their own schedule and time. So take the control in your own hands of your time, of your money, of your health and everything. I go skin and aesthetic clinic.
You, what are you consuming visually? You know, audio, orally, like what are you consuming? Visual.
And a lot of time we can really, removal is the best way to heal and to clean your body physically and mentally. First remove what are the other things you're adding into your body which are not necessary, then you add something. Always, If you buy something in a house, they always say remove and add, and same goes to your body. Remove something which you're really addicted to, then you add. If you're really going to go for a healthy nutritious plan, a lot of salads, a healthy meal, even you don't like them, first see what you need to remove. Then you add something. Don't go shopping for 200 pounds for your nutrition.
There's such a pressure on do this, do more, do more, do more, do more. But it's about the capacity, and that's the mental load. That's the point about the mental load and the chemical imbalance. That if you haven't got capacity, you can't load more in. And going to a one-off event, a wellness event, it may not be the answer. And actually, sometimes it can be worse because you can go there, feel a failure. You might have struggled to get the money for that ticket. So your expectations are so high that I'm going to go to this situation. I've seen women go there. It's changed their lives. That you go there and it hasn't changed yours. You can end up being the one that feels really crap, but it's not your fault and it's not you. It's purely about recognizing your individual needs. And we spoke about something beautiful about childhood and what worked when we were kids and we were younger. Do you want to talk about a little bit about that?
Yeah. So go back to the childhood, what you really enjoy, what the practices you was doing. I seen my grandma, mom, my mom, we were 5 children. She will still wake up 4 o'clock and do her prayer. That was her ritual. And she was so strict about it. She did in her capacity and then she get on with her day. She was a very busy woman. And then I used to do a lot of things with my mom or grandma, and same you used to do maybe painting or something. And now you started it and I started the same thing. And it's really, really therapy for me when I'm really sort of not working or I'm overworked or overwhelmed as well myself.
I realized that, when I was growing up, like we were saying this, that we would have had natural mechanisms for stress management. Nowadays, the social media, and Veerpal is seeing this in the clinics, is such a huge impact. So have you got your own health in your own hands? In some degree, if you're using a device, an Android, like an app device, a social media device, potentially not, because it can really damage your mental well-being. So I was thinking back to like when I was a young child, and we all had stresses, whether it be exam time, immigrant children, lots of stresses in the home. I used to paint. I used to make candles. I used to sew clothes. And these are things I've slowly gotten back into and connected back to. And I shared my painting in December. And I remember thinking, well, how am I going to find time to paint between a business, my NHS job, and managing my kids, and being a wife, being a daughter-in-law, being a daughter, a sister, a mother, the things. And I did. And it was the best thing, because actually that mindful practice is my connection to stress reduction.
Yes, and that really helped you. And what's happening these days, coming back to the same practice, what's happening, I see a lot of teenagers with low mood, depression, and anxiety. So many children are struggling. And half of the problems is we are so much absorbing from outside. And the children, it's no health or any other issue. Only problem they go is the social media, the comparison. And the same is going to the grown-up adults as well. A lot of women just struggling with this as well. And they not letting comparison as well. And when we say comparison, it's the social media telling, oh, she's doing this, or so-and-so influencer said so I'm going to try. In my skin and aesthetic clinic, when women come, I say, whatever you go in your drawer, empty your house and bring to me. A bag full of supplements from Holland Barrett, Amazon, TikTok, Instagram, you name it, and very expensive brands, not cheaper. Sometimes I count the money, it can lead up to £1,000 just for vitamins. They take 1 tablet from this, 2 tablets from this, 3rd tablet from this.
And they don't even do it anymore.
And then skin and aesthetic, the same. The cream, this will hyperpigmentation, this for anti-aging, this, you can name it. And they use 1, they use twice. And then they will send me a picture. Can you tell me, is this vitamin good for me? First, see, do you actually need it? You don't need too many things. And same for skin. You don't need more than 4 creams, including your wash and SPF. Same goes to your vitamins. If working for Rav maybe bought it, but maybe don't not necessarily need it. So just
Yeah.
identify your body first, what actually is needed, what you're struggling with first. And then you think
Yeah.
for influencer or a TikTok, watch a video, and then you buy it. Buying clothes
And that's
is
where the
different.
wellness industry are becoming really toxic and dangerous, because I didn't know there was a TikTok shop. Like, who opened TikTok shop? When did this happen? They're selling everything. So you've got a great,
Yeah.
like, you know, the glucose goddess. You know, she's doing a great job there, informing, educating. And now there's information out there that dietitians are really disagreeing with, but she's launched a supplement. She's launching products. And it's really easy because of this health and wellness industry using taglines, giving you and promising you overnight fixes. They are taking your money, but you're not necessarily getting the result. And that's why we're saying, can you take your health into your own hands? Well, you really have to practice the art of caution.
Yes, and you need to take control yourself in your own hands, because it's actually is causing health inequalities, which we call it, if we say, because people can't afford it, and then they say, well,
That's
I
why I
can
said
do it. No.
privilege. It's so much
Privileges,
privilege.
yeah.
So many of these things are steeped in privilege. Zoe, their supplements, their app, their whole system is something that my mum would not be able to access and afford. But they're presenting it to be this amazing way to know your gut
Psychologically, it's
bacteria.
damaging.
And that is exclusion, then it's excluding and a privilege, and it's a health inequality symbol yet again.
Yeah, that's what is all the time is causing. And then the issue comes from a lot of time you don't even need it. Go back to your kitchen, go back to your roots and see the simple food. A lot of things can be just work by that. And then you see what actually, if something is not working, what additional help you need. Then you go for it. But anything if you buy, I'm not saying you start to make vitamin C in your own kitchen and have 100 oranges in a day, and a lot of time for
She's not saying take drugs and don't take drugs. That's what we've got to be really clear about, because actually it's true. You've said if you
it's a
need
balance.
medicines and if you need medical intervention, then great.
Yeah.
But also it doesn't have to be the whole answer. 20-80, 20%
and
the meds,
also
80%
I'm not
lifestyle.
saying that you shouldn't take vitamin. In these days we do need vitamins because our food is not great quality. Okay, we need to accept that our food is not great, even unless you grow with your own hands in your own garden. Even you can say it organic, a lot of time it's not organic, we all know that. Okay,
Have I lost Veerpal?
No, I can hear you.
Yeah, she is. Sorry.
Yeah. So so you do need vitamins. A lot of women clinically they can't absorb iron enough. South Asian, we can't have vitamin D. Yeah, so all these sort of things you do need it. So you do need vitamin, but you don't need 20 vitamins. You need the basic ones, which is really essential for your body. Okay, you don't need. I do injectable for vitamins as well, only for the people who actually need it clinically. Not everyone need to take it. If they haven't had good diet, their blood tests were fine, they don't have any symptoms, they don't need it. So the same goes to everything else as well.
This is something that's really important. I've just remembered when it comes to the wellness industry, and then they're telling you these rules and these suggestions and the way to do it. I wake up and I take it in the morning, and then I swirl it, and then I drink it. And then we become, myself included, I've been there, really obsessed with the details. Like, when should I take the vitamin? Is this one better? Which ingredients? Or when I do the new moon ceremony, when I do a full moon ceremony, how should I do it? And you had a really good response. Like, I enjoyed your response in the Punjabi podcast. Like, yeah, so when people get consumed or bogged down with the rules around things, what would you suggest, or where does that come from?
Yeah, so every organization, every human have their own rules. You go to cook with your mom, she will say, don't do this way, you should do this way. There is no right and wrong. There is no right and wrong. Some are cultural, we made the rules. Every individual have made their own rules. And we tell our children, and the modern children, the next generation, my son say, what's the harm in doing this way? So they question us. And you go to an organization, you go for a workshop, you go to a clinic, everyone, because the way they learned or they done the things, they will try to tell you, but you see what suits you. And that's, you don't have to make your own rules, but then what suits you do that way. There is, if you go to practices religion or rituals, universe, there is no right and wrong. As long as you don't harm yourself or others, there is no right and wrong. That's the end of it.
The intention. It's all about the intention.
It's your energy and
the mind that
intentions.
you're going in with.
And if you have to do something with the pressure, it's not going to work. Just do whatever that you have, whichever way you have. If you remember at 12 o'clock to do incense stick, do it. If you feel like, do it. If you do in the morning, whatever, there is no right and wrong today.
Yeah,
When
the
it
best
goes to the
example of this is
food,
when people say, give me a meal plan, just tell me exactly what to eat, tell me what to do. And you'd said that actually I could get someone, a chef, to prepare your meals and deliver your meals. And if it's even not your thing, it doesn't suit your mood that day or your routine, it will last 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, and then it just crashes. And then people end up in these extremities, these yo-yos. So it really always comes back to connecting with yourself and what works for you in the routine, your lifestyle, your home, your environment, your children.
Your emotions as well. It has to be long-term sustainable approach. If someone says you're going to lose 10 kg in 4 days, you have to leave your cup of tea. I won't. I have reduced from 4, 5 to 2 now. But 2, I have emotional relationship. It's my feel-good factor. You can say my guilt pleasure. I enjoy my cup of tea when I finish my day. I really sit down. I have my childhood emotion, having that cup of tea with my mom, who I don't see for years. And I will not leave that unless I'm on a deathbed. That's a different thing. But you can give me all the meals, everything, but the taste buds. So you see, and as I always say, remove something first, then you add a meal plan. Okay, make it very, very simple. 3 meals can be very simple for your nutrition, but then it needs to suit your lifestyle, your budget, and your taste buds, and your mental health at that time, and what emotional state you are in. If you are in a good mood, you will say, I done my intermittent fasting today. I done this, I done it. Tomorrow you are in a crap mood. You say, give me bread, give me McDonald's, give me Burger King. You won't do it. So it needs to be a long-term, slow, sustainable approach. Either it's for exercise or it's for nutrition.
Yeah, I agree. So in final words, what would you say? Can you take your own health into your own hands?
Very, very possible if you don't get consumed by the external factors.
Do not go down the rabbit hole. Don't fall for the traps.
Don't fall for the trap. Try to research something and actually question something. Do you really need it? I sell everything in my clinic. I offer. Listen to this podcast. We are not here to promote drugs. We are not here to slag anyone. Everything is very, very good and effective because we do to ourselves. But every individual needs to have the power to acknowledge the problem and try to make sure they can identify the solution, and then they take the action.
Yeah. So do not feel, we want to reduce stigma and shame in accessing the appropriate medical, non-medical advice and support, and just know that there is a nuance with most things that you've really got to consider you as a person. And if you know someone that is really, really struggling, it's about helping them get to that baseline and not putting our expectations on them to go do this, go do that, and getting them to see a professional such as V, who is an advanced mental health clinical pharmacist.
Any advice you have sent these questions, and that's how we made this. Actually, this episode has become all from your questions and feedback. You had one client ask about the rituals and the pressure she was in and everything. Do drop us questions if you want to really ask us to catch on one. The mental health, menopause, nutrition. We're going to cover again on the vitamins and skin and aesthetics separate, because that's a big thing where a lot of people
we've
are
seen
struggling.
It coming up so much. We are going to do more focused episodes. I feel like even one every 2 weeks is so difficult. There's so much to talk about, but we're going for the long term. Give us a minute. We're going to pace it out.
And this is beginning, but do give us a feedback, good or bad as well, please. Anything you point out we shouldn't have said or you don't agree with, still drop us a message. We won't feel offended at all. We love your feedback and the questions you want us to answer as well, please. And share our podcast with your... See you soon.
2 weeks time.
Yes, see you soon then. And share our podcast, please. Thank you. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Don't forget to share. What did you think of this episode? And click subscribe, like, comment, and share for updates on future new episodes.